Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Words of wisdom on this Wednesday. As I got older, I finally got my head together, and now, quite literally, my body is falling apart. And here's something else to consider. It's really funny, but I don't remember ever being absent-minded. Do you? I love that. Good morning, everybody. Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning, morning. Have a good day. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and of course our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and service is the key word. Big tire sale going on right now. And don't forget, too, we've got some great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and of course our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them 734-6969. The way the day is starting off, I'm tempted to just have a rewind back to about 3:45 and start all over. I've knocked the microphone off the stand. I almost knocked the computer over. Almost dropped a full glass of water on the computer keyboard. I'm dangerous today, Gina. Look out.
Watch out, of course. Should we have the Klutz police on you today?
The Klutz police?
Yeah, well, if you're dropping and spilling stuff.
You ever have those days, though, where everything you do, everything you say, or everything you try to attempt is absolutely messed up?
I have had those days, and that's when you just want to call it early and go back to bed.
Do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Michael Rogers on for the pledge and for the weather.
Very good. Michael, go ahead. Take it away, please.
Morning, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Spring weather in the Magic Valley of south-central Idaho, located on the Snake River Plains in the Great Basin Intermountain West. Clouds, sun, showers, all of it for today. On the backside of a cold front, so you were pretty much in the 70s yesterday. Your daytime high today would be right around the low 60s. 63 is a pretty good number. 40 for the overnight low to continue throughout much of the day and tonight. Start to taper off tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have ourselves a good weekend. Everything is looking forward to having that once this front pass. But otherwise, listening to Zeb and Gina in those days where you just can't get anything going. Hope you can relate to the radio profession where no matter what you do to open your mouth, it's not going to come out the way you want it. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. Is the only weather you've got.
I agree. Thank you, Michael. God bless you, man. Great weather forecast, and he's so true. We have these days in this business to where we should keep our mouths covered with duct tape. Good morning, everybody, and here's the situation this morning. We are expecting, I just got a call not more than 20 minutes ago from Washington, D.C., and we're expecting a call from Senator Mike Crapo at 8:30 this morning, so we're going to have to gallop to catch up on everything, so bear with me. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They've got incandescent light bulbs, and the government's trying to say they're a thing of the past. No. You can go in and buy incandescent light bulbs right now while they last at Ramsey Heating and Electric. 40, 65, 75, or 100 watt. Yes, get in there now, clear or frosted, and tell the government to Well, just tell the government. Anyway, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Also, our thanks go out to Valleywide Home and Ranch. Oh, they still got chicks. Oh, yeah. Wrong chick, yep. And 400 Cornish chicks arrived Tuesday. These are the chickens that are the meat birds. Oh, Sunday, looking good. Dumplings. Anything you want or need for your chickens is at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Feed, water, dishes, houses, fencing, anything. So stop into Valleywide Home and Ranch. They are your chick headquarters. Steve and the rest of the crew at Valleywide Home and Ranch. For the farm, the home, the family, it's right there at Valleywide, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see, tomorrow is a very big day here for Zeb at the Ranch. Of course, it is our lunch bunch day at Denny's Restaurant, and we would also like to thank Smith's Food King, Walmart, and Hanson Mortuary for all their door prizes that we're going to be giving away. So don't miss it. That's at Denny's Restaurant tomorrow. And by the way, if you're not familiar where it is, you better figure it out, because that is the home of great breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thomas and the rest of the crew, we are entirely satisfied with their service, the food, and just everything about it. So you stop in and join us tomorrow at 11:30 for lunch bunch. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Really nice people. Oh, did you hear? I got to quickly get some of these stories in there this morning. But did you hear about what happened in Philadelphia? And I'm getting texted. Hold on. Michael did? Okay, I got that. Thank you. All of a sudden it goes ding, ding. Good morning. Did you hear what happened in Philadelphia? There's an investigation underway right now on voter fraud that was committed, and I'm not going to salve the situation over. I'm going to tell you like it is. 4 black Democrats are being investigated for voter fraud in Philadelphia. And initially, when they were found out to be a part of a voter fraud kind of a system or schematic back there, the prosecutor, a white prosecutor, an investigator, would not name them to any charges. Do you know why? This is sick, and it's not the only story you're going to hear like this. The white prosecutor and investigator was afraid to name the 4 black Democrats that were involved in the voter fraud because they were afraid of being called racist. Here we have a criminal act being conducted by 4 black Democrats. Let's call it like it is, okay? And they're investigated, and the white investigator is afraid and is basically told and warned, maybe we better back off on this a little bit, because they might turn around and yell racism. Is that what we're coming to in this country now? There's more of a divide for race than ever before, and there is more, I think, unequal punishment. And when I say unequal, I think it's going more to the whites than it is the blacks because of the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and others standing up and automatically playing the race card. I'm fed up with it. If people are guilty of conducting a crime, they should be arrested, they should be tried, they should be convicted, they should be sentenced on what they did, not the color of their skin. It has no bearing. But these 4 black Democrats got off the hook with this investigator because this investigator was afraid to pursue the charges because of racism charges. What do you think about this? You know, this is absolutely ridiculous. You take the Sharptons and the Jacksons, and they're going to yell racism, and then there's race baiters right here in this Magic Valley. There are race baiters right here in this Magic Valley. And I would love to name names. I would love to have an itemized list of names, and I know some of them. I know where they live, etc. And they're the first ones to yell race anytime you come out against Obama or whatever. It would be absolute fun to watch them listen to this list of names and then watch them and listen to them squirm. But imagine that our legal system is being basically thrown under the bus. Because today, more than ever before, because of this president and his administration, we are afraid to go after people because there might be racism. Unbelievable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like I said, I got to catch up and gallop up here to get everything in this morning. Don't forget Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, a 20-year record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops with 30 interactive components. Penetron by Maisie speeds germination, reduces crusting, and improves stand, stimulates root growth and microbial activity. And it builds soil structure, too. And do you know that Penetron by Maisie can save irrigation water? That's right. The water savings alone will pay for the cost of the product. You had better get a hold of your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor today and ask about Penetron by Maisie. Increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. All right, let's get some calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, how are we coming through over there? It sounds kind of hollow and clipped this morning. Is it okay?
It sounds okay to me.
Oh, okay. Well, you're the boss. And
I'll call for you, too.
Okay, we'll take that call. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, it's so easy for this voter fraud to take place. Look, for example, Harry Reid was behind 4%. You know, the national polls were almost totally accurate, except for Harry Reid. He was behind 4% the day before the election, and he won by 6%. I mean, that didn't happen without some hanky-panky going on, to say the least.
Yeah, but did you hear? I gotta shift gears to get right along here this morning because I've got Crapo calling in. But I want to ask your response on this. Did you hear about the allegations this morning about Harry Reid? Did you? Yes or no?
I did not.
All right, here we go. I'll just tell them to you. Right now, Harry Reid is under investigation because they found out that he had channeled and funneled some campaign funds to his granddaughter that is not legal, and they went right directly into an account that she had, and then they purchased gifts for some of the contributors. And I certainly hope that this comes to fruition and Harry Reid gets bounced out of the Senate.
Oh, yeah, the guy's totally corrupt. I mean, he absolutely is one of the most despicable politicians that I'm aware of in all the years that I've been studying politics. I did hear and read about that, and it's more extensive than what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, I haven't had a chance to finish the story yet. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so go ahead and finish. But, yeah, I did hear about, funneling money, all kinds of favors to his family members, government contracts, all kinds of stuff like that.
Adrian, what would have happened, seriously, had this been Paul Ryan, had this been John Boehner, had this been anybody else on the right side of the aisle, and these allegations came forth? What would have happened, in your opinion?
It would have been headlines, I mean, for sure, absolutely, But see, this is a duplicity. Back to your original story, this, what you're talking about, these four black politicians, I fault the national media. I mean, there's very few people like yourself that'll stand up and tell it like it is. And then we have the people in our local paper here, they have an agenda, just like the animal rights people have, to push their vegan agenda on the rest of us. And they hate animals, they hate milk, they hate eggs, anything that has to do with animals. And yet, they'll trump up anything they can. They'll take one incident, like happened here in the Valley, and blow it up into a national thing, and the national media takes it and runs with it, even though the rest of the evidence shows that this was an isolated situation. It was taken care of, but now it's a national thing, and they're trying to put the people out of business. This is national media thing is terrible. I would like you to ask Senator Crapo to take a stand against this new Trade Promotion Authority that, they're trying to tie us into another super NAFTA thing with the EU and with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I'd appreciate if you'd ask him a question about
I
that.
will definitely try to get that worked in. I've only got about 10 minutes this morning, and so it's going to be really tight. Adrian, always, I appreciate your viewpoints. Thank you very much. God bless.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. I want to brag a little bit right now about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. I'm very, very high on these guys, Eli and Nick and Rosie and everybody else. They do a wonderful job in making sure that the equipment you need to purchase and or rent is there available at all their locations. They've got locations at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, 159 West Highway 30 going into Burley, 2331 South Lincoln in Jerome, and I'm telling you, they got all the Coyote tractors. They've got all the Walker lawnmowers. They've got all the Doosan heavy dealer loader and excavators. And all they're doing is asking for the opportunity to earn your business. These people are sharp. When it comes to the big machinery you need to get the job done, you get a hold of them today. Berry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls, Burley, and Jerome, serving you. Caller, I'll be right with you. Do not go away. I'll be right there. Don't forget, too, the 42nd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, Idaho, starting on Wednesday, April 9th, and going all the way through the 13th. My goodness, they're going to have all kinds of activity there, including, of course, the Outfitters and Guides Rendezvous. They're going to have training clinics. They're going to have mule packing competition, 4D barrel races, big team roping, trail horse competition, mule sale, horse sale. Oh, my, it's all there at Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. 42nd Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. Don't miss it up in Salmon, Idaho. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Deb.
Yes, sir.
These prosecutors, and there's some locals around here that somebody should take them out of office. But back there, that one time, you remember they had them two Black Panthers standing there with ball bats in their hands in front of that door to go in and vote, and the white people was walking away.
Yep.
And that's because these prosecutors aren't doing their job.
Al, why is it, and I know the answer to this, but I want to get your opinion on it, but why is it today the news media is afraid, they're cowards, to mention whether they are black or Negro or whatever, or white or Hispanic? I mean, I am absolutely appalled that you could have 4 black Democrats working for the promotion of the Democratic Party, and they are investigated for voter fraud, and the white investigator all of a sudden has a chill go down the back and say, oh, we better lay off on these people because they're black. That's not the law. That's not legal.
I know, because they're just like, we need some guys like Rudy Giuliani. That guy was tough. But look what happened to Bobby Kennedy.
Yep.
He went after the tough guys and all that stuff, and he got assassinated.
It's a crying shame, our judicial system in this country. And this isn't the only story like this. You know it, Al. I mean, it happens every day. The minute you bring up anything about, the blacks or the impoverished blacks or the poor Hispanics or whatever, you are going to subject yourself to a racism card. I've had it happen to me here on this program and others. But if the law is going to be circumvented because of race, we've got a real problem in this country.
Well, if you keep looking at the news and that, it's the blacks bringing up the card. It's not a white calling the black black. That's where the trouble is. It's coming out of the black population. And say I'm wrong, prove it.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm telling you that ever since Obama took over office, I think we've seen more division in this country with the races than ever before. How do you feel?
That's right. Hey, did you get the card?
Oh, no. What card?
You didn't?
No.
Deanne's got it hid.
Maybe she does. I don't know, because you hit me cold turkey on that one. Al, always appreciate your comments.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lunch Bunch tomorrow at Denny's going to be great. We're looking forward to it. By the way, too, I want to remind you that all qualified Lennox home comfort systems are at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, everything. Your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Gina, did you get my little bitty video about the lady running for office that is a former hog farmer?
Oh, I thought that was precious, and yes, I did post it up on your Facebook page.
And, and I don't know how much I can say about this ad, but it's going to be played on television, and it was a very well-done ad, and believe me, she gets her point across.
She does, and my comment to that was, boy, howdy, the boys in D.C. are going to be squealing when she gets elected.
Let's tell everybody, I'll let you do this because you're more eloquent about internets, etc. Tell everybody how they can get on my Facebook page and witness this video, because you don't want to miss the video of this lady running for public office.
No, if you want to watch this video, get online, go to zebbell.com, click on the Facebook widget, and it'll take you directly to his Facebook page. You can like his Facebook page, view the video, and laugh away.
Oh, it's wonderful. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to expedite things a little bit because Senator Crapo is going to be calling in. Okay. Don't forget Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Haber. Number to call, 438-8730. Did you ever have to sneeze and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a commercial? That's where I'm at right now. Hold on. I feel better. Travel Lube Supply, they've got all the bolt bins. They've got all your bolts, metric and standard. They've got everything to repair those spaghetti wheel lines from that terrible wind. All the levelers, the birdies, all the bolts, everything. Jim McCall and his great staff at Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn. Number to call, they deliver the goods, 438-8730. Time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
After reaching record highs in 2013, feed and feeder steer prices are expected to increase sharply again in 2014, with high prices carrying into 2015. Fed steers are projected to average $137.20 per hundredweight in 2014 and $137.74 in 2015. Cow-calf net returns per cow are projected at $232.28 in 2014 and $251.16 in 2015, according to economists with the Food and Agricultural Policy Institute at the University of Missouri. The institute attributes rising profitability in the cattle sector to declining feed costs, a tightening U.S. beef herd, and lower cattle imports. This is Hannah Browse.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Oh, the Capital Press Ag Minute, brought to you by our friends at Lennox Home Comfort Systems. You better get a hold of my buddy, Keith Ramsey. He can tell you all about it at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric. They can serve you, 678-0459. The old dog barking in the background. You know what I think we'll do real quick while we're waiting for United States Senator Mike Crapo? I think we will go ahead with our weather forecast and get that taken care of quickly. And that way we won't have to interrupt production. And we'll tell everybody, Butte Irrigation is our sponsor of our weather for this hour. And they're located at 116 South and 600 West of Paul. And a brand spanking new location over just a little bit north of Kimberly at Red Cap Corner on Kimberly Road. Oh, my. They will get you wet with all the wheel lines, hand lines, main lines, pivots, pumps, the great staff, knowledgeable staff at Butte Irrigation. Here's Michael Rogers Weather.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Clouds, sun, and a mix of showers later on today, but we're working our way to being on that backside of the cold front. Temperatures looking for a high today of about 53, overnight low right around 40. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you very much. Butte Irrigation, our sponsor for the weather this hour. Again, with offices in Paul and a new one in Kimberly. They will get you wet. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we're waiting patiently for... You got him already. Thank you very much, Gina. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I missed a golden opportunity. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Salt Lake at the hospital, and I missed talking to him on the air, and then also I missed seeing him at the Lincoln Day banquet and having a chance to shake hands and say howdy. Here's United States Senator Mike Crapo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you, Mike?
Oh, well, you know, I'm doing well. The country needs a little help, and we're back in the midst of more battles here.
Okay, now, Mike, I'm going to kind of shotgun some of these topics to you this morning like I normally do. First off and foremost, this problem with Russia. Mitt Romney was right, in my opinion, in the debates. Russia is not going away. There's an encroachment into Crimea and also the Ukraine, and I honestly think he's going to keep on going to take over the Ukraine to establish the old mother powerful Russia. What are your thoughts and concerns about what Putin is doing right now?
Well, I completely agree. The Ukraine is not the only front, if you will, in which Russia is seeking to exert its control over the former Soviet Union states. Whether you go into the Kazakhstan or any of the Stan countries or Georgia, the Ukraine, others, Russia is using its military might and its economic, particularly its energy might, to pressure all of these nations and dominate them in many different ways. Not in every case actually moving in militarily, but in Georgia and in the Ukraine we're seeing military intervention. And I don't believe it's going to stop. I don't believe that President Obama has had a good handle on it. As a matter of fact, you'll recall before his last election when he was caught speaking to a Russian official saying, wait till after the election and I can be a little more accommodating. I don't think they feel any pressure from the United States of significance to back off. And this is not only alarming in terms of Russia's intentions, but it's something that I believe is being observed by other nations like China and Iran and other potentially dangerous nations who could impact our national security by their actions. And frankly, I think there's a very, very dangerous dynamic developing in the world now. The United States needs to develop a strong response on a global basis.
Mike, let me ask you this. You used in your phraseology just a moment ago the word pressure. What pressure is left for this administration with Obama showing weakness to every world leader? What pressure is left to use against Putin and use against Russia, albeit going to war?
Well, you've made a very good point there. I don't think there's much support in the United States among any party or group for us actually putting boots on the ground and engaging in another military engagement of that nature in the Ukraine. That being said, the president, by his policies, has left us with very little meaningful sanction ability. We do have some options, though. For example, number one, the Senate today is voting on a pretty strong package of sanctions that we can utilize against Russia and against individuals in Russia. These are not going to make a huge difference, but they're going to be a very big statement about whether the United States is getting back in the game. Secondly, the president pulled out of our missile defense activities in the region, and that was a signal. We can get back engaged in being involved with NATO nations over there in building and strengthening their defense infrastructure. NATO's another thing. We can get more active in looking at strengthening NATO and strengthening the potential for some of these former Soviet Union bloc nations moving to the West in terms of NATO or defense agreements and assuring that we isolate Russia. I should say that if we talk about economic sanctions against Russia, which can have a very significant impact, unfortunately, we're in a posture right now where those economic sanctions hurt the United States about equally. And finally, I would say, this is more down the road, but we need to get at it. We need to start strengthening our energy posture so that Russia cannot dominate that part of the world with its natural gas and petroleum.
Senator, let me ask you this, Mike, and you know that you and I visited many, many times over world politics and what's going on, but right now, here's the way I see it, and if you disagree, please tell me. I see Vladimir Putin, as emerging today as the number one leader of the world in the eyes of other country leaders. And Obama has diminished and absolutely regressed in popularity and regressed the United States in any kind of respect. Can we ever get that back with this administration?
Well, I tend to agree in general with the direction of what you are saying. President Obama has significantly diminished himself individually and America as a nation in terms of the respect and, frankly, attention that we are given in international circles. And he actually signaled that when he was running for office. He said he thought that the United States was too strong in its interactions with other nations and that we needed to be more friendly. He talked about a reset of our relationships with Russia, and he's definitely reset them, but in a way that has caused a loss of respect and weakened our negotiating posture. And I think that your question was, can we ever fix that under this administration? Well, of course, almost all of the things that have been done will take time to repair, and if the president would do so, we could start down the road of repairing them. Things like I just mentioned, strengthening and changing our energy policy, strengthening and changing our policy with regard to NATO and the potential new entrance into NATO, strengthening our national security and our national defense, and engaging in missile defense review activities in that region. And the list goes on. But I'm not sure that the president is willing to engage aggressively in those kinds of activities.
Let's shift gears for a second here, Mike, if we could, please, and talk about Obamacare, one of the subjects that you and I have visited many times about. This is so scandalous. This is such a train wreck, and yet the Democrats won't admit it. Now, after Kathleen Sebelius said a couple of months ago that there would be absolutely no extension for Obamacare, now they're saying, oops, yeah, maybe there will be an extension. Maybe we can create something past March 31st. What are your thoughts about Obamacare so far?
Well, this is so patently obvious that the American people are getting it. First of all, it is becoming painfully evident that literally all of the concerns that we raised about it when we were debating and fighting over it on the floor of Congress are coming true solidly. Whether it's the tax impacts, whether it's the increases in the cost of insurance, whether it's the loss of access to insurance, whether it's the reduction in medical care quality, people across the country are realizing that the act is a failure. The president is, and this is the transparent part that I think people are increasingly understanding, the president is doing everything he can to delay the development and implementation of the act so that these failures don't become so evident before the November election. He's very concerned that Democrats in the House and the Senate not go into a November election with Obamacare in full implementation mode. And so he is just, I think, in violation of the law, which he's regularly doing by not enforcing laws. He's just granting extensions, exempting certain groups, labor unions, for example, from even the application of the law, and just making it so that the pain is not going to be felt yet. But the pain is coming, and I think most Americans are increasingly understanding that.
You know, Mike, let me ask you, and we've talked about this in the past also with Obamacare, right here in my studio, as a matter of fact. But when the Supreme Court passed on Obamacare and said it was legal, then after that, Obama and his administration changed it almost 30 different times, and they're still changing it. Why then isn't the law null and void if they've changed it from the okay from the Supreme Court?
Well, the Supreme Court ruling, the technical answer to your question is the Supreme Court ruling said that the individual mandate in Obamacare was a tax, and that therefore it fell within Congress's authority. And as you know, you and I strongly disagreed with that characterization. There were other taxes in it, but not that one. And the fact is that the changes that President Obama has made have not taken it out or adjusted that part of it, that part that was subject to the lawsuit. I believe that the changes President Obama has made are illegal and could be challenged successfully in court, and there are court challenges to them. but it's taking time for them to work their way through the courts.
All right. Another change of options here, going to the Internet. Why? Oh, why did Obama all of a sudden stand up the other day and say that he's going to basically give away the Internet to other worlds for a globalization of the Internet? Even former President Bill Clinton said this is decidedly stupid. Why are we doing this?
Well, once again, I'm afraid I can't explain what's going on in the president's mind. The president needs to be much more protective of the United States and our interests. Certainly the Internet is an international, it is a global dynamic, and we want and need to have global communication at a very efficient and effective level. But we can accomplish that without the kinds of changes that the president is proposing.
I just heard something last night that absolutely made my skin crawl, was the fact that we are paying Russia $70 million plus for our astronaut, our one astronaut, to go up to the space station. We were the world's leader in space, and now we have to hitch a ride with Russia at a cost of $70 million per ride. This is embarrassing to the United States, Senator.
It is embarrassing, and frankly, to see the United States back off of its space program has been one of the great discouragements to me. Look, we had some accidents, we had some delays and problems, and we should have responded to those very aggressively in terms of trying to determine how to make a much more safe and sound system. But we should not, in my opinion, have backed off of our basic core mission and the expertise and I guess the intensity with which we approach it. I understand a lot of people have said, we've got a lot of domestic problems right here on the ground. Why are we focused on space? I think it's critical for the United States to regain and maintain our lead in space science and travel, and that we need to recognize that there are many benefits that come to us here currently in our economy and in our lifestyles in America and in the world as a result of that.
One final thought here this morning. I know you've got to run, but your dear friend, Majority Leader Harry Reid, might be in a little trouble for giving money to grandkids, right?
Oh, I haven't seen that story. Is that true?
Well, it come across this morning that he has funneled some money from campaign funds to his granddaughter, and then it ended up going as gifts back to contributors. And gee whiz, Mike, isn't that a no-no?
It sounds to me like it is. Like I say, I'm not familiar with that story. I'm going to go check it out when we hang up, but that doesn't sound like it's the right way to be handling the fund.
Anything else real quick that you want to mention this morning that is on your plate that you'd like your constituents here at home to know about?
Well, I'll just mention one thing very quickly, and then I do have to run, and that is that I have just introduced with my counterpart in the Senate Banking Committee, Tim Johnson, a major bill to reform our housing finance system, the gist of which is we will wind down Fannie and Freddie over time and eliminate them. We will eliminate a lot of the laws that forced our mortgage industry into the kinds of toxic mortgages that we think were a part of the problem in creating the crisis, and we will establish a new system in the United States. There's going to be a lot of controversy about this, and you'll hear a lot of controversy about it, but I think this is a major reduction of the role of government in our mortgage industry and a major improvement that will encourage a lot more private sector capital to step in to our mortgage system and make America's mortgage system the best in the world again.
All right. United States Senator Mike Crapo. Mike, thank you so much for calling in this morning. God's blessings to you, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you. Have a great day out there.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Senator Mike Crapo, back on the steps of Washington, D.C. And, this story, I've got to elaborate a little bit on this, about Harry Reid. $16,000 in campaign funds went to his granddaughter, and then she bought gifts to go to donors and supporters. Why, that shouldn't be legal, should it? No. So they're looking at him. The Federal Election Commission wants to know why. Here's the headline in the story. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid paid out over $16,000 in campaign funds to his granddaughter to give out to donors and supporters. And the Friends for Harry Reid, the campaign paid Ryan Elizabeth Reid, his granddaughter, a whole bunch of money, like $5,400 in one check, $11,300 in another check, and they were used as holiday gifts. Wouldn't it be interesting to see old Harry on television just kind of squirming a little bit? I love it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A tip of the coffee cup this morning, and that goes to a couple of really nice ladies. Linda Croft is always at our lunch bunch, and she sings our national anthem and other songs, and she has a beautiful, beautiful voice, and I just want to say tip of the coffee cup to Linda, and another Linda, and this is Linda Peterson with Child's World. Thank you so much for all you do, and we salute you today, and have a great day. Excuse me, have a great day, as I choked all of a sudden. Gina, say something. I got to get a glass of water.
Are you dying over there?
Do you ever have that happen when you're talking, all of a sudden you get a dry choke?
Oh, it's like that when you're on television. Yeah, it's quite embarrassing.
You know, on TV, it's even worse.
Oh, especially live TV, and there's the camera's on you, and you're sitting there choking to death, and you're just hoping that they pan over to the other person. Just please get me off air.
You know, when we were doing Cowboy Country, we could always yell cut, even though we couldn't hardly talk, and we could redo the scene again. But I feel sorry for you on live television with a newscast. You know, and a lot of times, the more you talk, and then all of a sudden, if you breathe wrong just a little bit, it causes that dry choke. You're done. You're toast.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple of times where I was in a coughing fit, and they would automatically pan over to Joe, and then I would just get up and leave the studio and leave the room. So it was bad sometimes, especially when I had bronchitis. It was awful.
You know, we got a lot in a short 15-minute interview with Senator Crapo.
Yes, we did, and that was a very, very good interview, and I really liked what he had to say about how Obama is basically just taking away all of the credibility that America used to have, you know, in the world.
Absolutely. We'll take that call. Thanks, Gina. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Deb.
Hi.
You know, there's an article in the Farm Bureau magazine called "The Battle Will Never End," and it talks about a certain battle that goes on against society and government regulation. But you see, I'm reading a book called Meritopia by Mark Levin for the second time, and he talks about the ruling elite and how they truly believe that they are divinely, you know, that it's almost that it's their right to rule over us and decide.
Yeah.
And to think that they will ever stop trying to decide what is best for the people is, you know, will never end.
You know, Randy.
And, you know, when we went through the Depression, and the men and, you know, were the people that lived through it, they were children, and then they fought World War II, and they said, man, we lived through the Depression, we fought World War II and won. We don't have to worry anymore about this. We can go home and live our lives and raise our families and create business and prosperity as they did. And in the meantime, the utopians, the statists, the communists are constantly trying to figure out a way to stop it and control it, because all they care about is control. And again, the battle will never end.
You know, I saw something this morning, and I sometimes wear my emotions on my sleeve, and this really bothered me. It was on at 4:30 this morning. And it was an interview with some of our veterans that have come back from Iraq, Afghanistan. They're trying to heal up. They're trying to get their cases taken care of through the VA and everything, and get all the encouragement and the surgery that they need. And one of the vets looked at the camera and just basically said, why? Why did we do what we did if this government, through this supposed leadership with Obama, is basically going to cheapen and weaken everything that we did and we tried to achieve and give it back to the bad guys? And you know something? It brought a lump to my throat. These guys standing there with no arms. These guys with no legs or no arms. These people that are shells of what they used to be. They went over and they fought for this country. They fought for the rights of others. And this president is so weak-kneed and so howdy-doody-ish as a puppet that other countries play him. I am absolutely embarrassed at this leadership.
I tell you what. Again, it's appalling, and if you remember, this is exactly the same road we were going down with Carter, and as soon as the people, the leadership of other countries, especially our enemies, realized that when Reagan became president, that they had better straighten up, because he was going to do what he said he would do, despite he had counselors and advisors who told him not to do what he did, but he was convicted to his principles. That's the kind of leadership that literally created this country with our founding fathers and the Constitution.
No, I'll tell you something, Randy. I've said it before on this program, and I don't mince words. I despise and abhor this man, Obama. I don't like him. I don't like his administration. I think it's absolutely leading us down the pathway to treachery and being a loser nation. I think that right now where we're at, Putin, of all people, is playing him like a puppet, and the rest of the world is laughing at us. And I'll guarantee you right now, I don't know, honestly, if we can get back the respect as the world's leader and the world's caregiver and the world's helper that we once had, because I'm very concerned.
You're very much so. That's the reason why the people have to wake up.
I agree. Okay, buddy, thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Deb. Before Mike Crapo was on, you were talking about the black political folks back on the East Coast.
Yeah, I said it, and I'm going to stand behind what I said. 4 black Democrats were accused and are guilty, supposedly, of voter fraud. And you know, the American public today, in most news stories, Chris, you can't mention that they're black. Oh, no, you can't mention that they may be Hispanic. Oh, no. You know something? I'm going to call it like it is.
Right. And was it in Philadelphia?
Yes.
That this was going on?
Yes.
This is an embarrassing thing to a true-blooded American. Here we are trying to not be racist, and the United States has been the leader in the melting pot idea. Why are we always talking about race? We are Americans. Let's get this race thing off of the page.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Chris. In fairness to the situation, I'll just throw this out. I think that up until Obama took over office, race was on a diminishing slide. I don't think it was that important. But now do you tell me that we have to legally back off from prosecution and going after someone legally because of their color of their skin, because the white investigators might be called racist and they're scared of this? That's not the law.
Well, the thing about it is like you said, a lot of this was going away because Americans were thinking of Americans, period.
Absolutely.
Not anything to do with their race. And he has race baited us since he started campaigning. And I know how it feels because my husband is Japanese and he's a proud American. He was born here. He's an American. And it really makes me mad when somebody seems to act like he's a second-class citizen. But the problem is, the people who have been using the second-class citizen mantra are the ones that are allowing themselves to be criminals, and then they point their finger in our face and say, try to do something.
Yeah, well, there's the problem. You've touched on it and said it very eloquently. I don't care what ethnicity, race, whatever. I'm just saying this, that today under Obama and this administration, with Eric Holder and others, and the Al Sharptons, the Jesse Jacksons, and all of these race baiters, there wouldn't be the problem if you didn't have the Jacksons and the Sharptons saying, oh, well, the only reason they're going after those 4 is because they're black. And then they start that contemptuous race baiting.
Right, and they bring it up every time. But you turn the tables on them, and they'll take a lawsuit out of you and take everything you've got. I just am so sad for this proud, wonderful country that has made so much possible for so many other people around the world. And where are our fans?
I agree.
I am just so sad about it, but I think that America still has her heart. It's just get us out of this mess, and we'll pick up the shovels and we'll go to work and we'll turn it around.
Amen.
Because I have grandkids, and I want them to have the things that we had.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
I absolutely agree with everything she said. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Spring tire sale. I know they are busy. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my, they throw open the doors in the morning and they say, come on in, world, and people do from all over. They are the best, and they've got the best of tires for all your different styles of driving. On your pickups, your cars, and of course your 4-wheel drives. They got it all for you. Your SUVs, they've got them. And if you need tires like for your horse trailer, camp trailer, whatever, you're going to be doing a lot of running this spring, better get in there today. Don't forget, too, they got all the shocks and struts and the front end alignments, best in brake service. These guys know brakes. Let me tell you, you stop in today and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good first hour. Thank you, everybody, for your calls. I appreciate that and your thoughts. We've got a whole bunch of cleaning up to do in this country, and on this program, I will not hedge. There is a faction living right here in the Magic Valley in the state of Idaho, as a matter of fact, that every time I open my mouth, they'll send emails or they'll make calls, unknown name, unknown number. Oh, you're a racist. Yeah. It's so easy to say that. And I simply put back to them, well, I can't say that on the air. Never mind. I am absolutely going to fight till my last breath on the radio that we're going to call it like it is. And if there's a charge against someone or a group of someone's, we're going to tell you exactly the true story. And this situation back in Philadelphia needs to be investigated, because when color and race overturn the law, we've got a real problem in this country. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Holy cow. Had a lot of things to do during the break. And here we are back again in the saddle for the hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, our great big sponsor. Thank you so much. All 7 locations. And also I would like to say thank you very much to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our dear friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Absolutely, always at your disposal. That is the truth. All you have to do is give them a call at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. You know, with the spring coming on, and pretty soon there'll be outdoor projects, you better be remembering you can rent all the porta potties right there from Western Waste Services. And you know, you're going to be doing a lot of cleaning up. Oh, you got a project in the garage, you got a project out in the tack room, whatever. You need a dumpster. Well, they've got them in various sizes. Just call them and talk to them about it today. 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Really nice people. We're going to have Kelly back on the program here in a couple of days. I think I'll visit with him a little bit more and see what's going on. Also, I'd like to remind you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward, owner-manager. And along with Hanson Mortuary, I thank Walmart and also Smith's Food King for helping us with our door prizes for Lunch Bunch tomorrow at 11:30. family. But, remember Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. Their staff always providing the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And, again, they want to meet and exceed your expectations of service for your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, it's a very tumultuous time. They can help. They will help. 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, it's Wednesday already, and I get a chance to talk to the old Colorado Sage. Good morning, Doug Johnson. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you this morning?
I'm not bad. Well, I preface that by saying I'm not bad. There's a lot of things that are very disconcerting to me right now this morning, and they're getting worse day by day, hour by hour, because I don't trust this administration. You wrote a blog that I thought was very interesting, and I thought I'd have you highlight it a little bit in the Horse Sense blog. You had a headline that said, quote, "Public attitude may be the Achilles heel that keeps us from saving America." What in the world did you mean by that?
Well, Zeb, people like you and me and many of those who listen to shows like yours or read stuff I write, we're out there fighting, trying to hopefully save America. And yet we have an issue that we often don't think about, and that is that, America's in pretty bad shape. And to deny that is just like being an ostrich with your head in the sand. And that's caused a lot of people to be very depressed, very hopeless, very despondent. And as I started to think about that, what hit me, that's why I went a little different this week on my blog post. Instead of picking a specific news item, I thought I'd address this, that many people who are feeling, really hopeless are finding that this discouragement leads them to thinking there really is no hope. And so they either continue to vote for big government, thinking that government's the only solution, or even if they know better, they may feel it's so hopeless that they're thinking, at least it might buy us some time until the whole thing collapses. And so there's just so much depression and despondency throughout our society that it's hurting. And this is where the rest of us need to not be cheerleaders. I'm not a believer in this false positive thinking garbage, but be honest with people and say, no, this is why we need to fight. This is why you have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, so to speak, and get in the middle of it, and we got to fight to make this thing win, because we can't afford to lose this. And I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, I think, are giving up, and we need to pull them out of those doldrums and back into the battle.
Well, I can't argue with the thing you said, except that if I were to arbitrate with you on choice of words, I believe in positive thinking, and I use that in my Christian daily life, that there is hope and there is a future. That's the positive thinking for me, and I think you would concur with that. That being said, right now, I look at our leadership, and I put that in quotation marks, and I underline it and highlight it, because I don't think we have any leadership. I think we have a howdy-doody puppet that's in the office of the presidency, and his staff is even worse, and they're being led by the nose right now by other world leaders, especially Putin and Russia. This is a mess, and we're being sacrificed like lambs to slaughter if we don't turn this thing around.
Yeah, I would say a couple things, and I'm going to just briefly address the positive thinking issue. This is something a lot of people don't think about, and I addressed it actually in my first book, which is actually a business book on sales and service. And that was, I said, I don't believe in positive thinking. I don't believe in negative thinking. I believe in realistic thinking. And so I'm not an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm just a realist that says, okay, here's the circumstances. Now we need to figure out what's wrong and figure out how to fix it, and we move forward. I don't, how I define positive thinking, Zeb, and a lot of people, once they understand this, they don't disagree with me, but I differentiate because in especially sales and sales training, there's a lot of this teaching that, well, if you can think it, if you can dream it, you can achieve it, which is not true at all. And they think you can think yourself to prosperity or think things better. And it takes more than just thinking. It takes a concerted plan and effort to fix things. And so that's why I use that terminology. But I think we're on the same page. And I think you're right about the world stage, what America looks like. I think our president, and once again, I'm not trying to disagree with you, but I think our president is not so much being led by people like Putin, but I think what is happening is he is achieving his goal of bringing down America. And that's not going to deter him. he, in his own quiet, private hours, I believe, sits back and smiles to himself and says, I'm bringing America down. That's exactly what my plan is. And so I think he's proud of himself, but we don't see it because those of us who love America, who are truly Americans at heart, we are patriots, we want America's greatness to be restored, and we want to be to the world what we once were, the greatest nation in the history of mankind. And I think we're not seeing it. And this is what we're fighting. We are fighting this belief that America is exceptional, that we know. I shouldn't say this, but we're not fighting that. We are fighting for that against people who don't believe that.
You know, Doug, simply put, and I think you will, if you think about this, you're going to agree with me on this point. Simply put, the real leader of the world today is Vladimir Putin. I'm not saying I respect him. I'm not saying I have anything to do with his policies or philosophy. But people are looking to him for world leadership roles right now, more so than they used to look to the United States. That is a fact.
Well, absolutely. In fact, the British there was just a survey done, and they rated Putin as the greatest leader in the world. They rated him and Russia as far above the European Union. This is scary. This is our number one ally, Britain. And not only that factor, but the fact that Putin has been working with China to undermine the U.S. economy. In 2008, he actually met with them and tried to get them to work to overthrow the U.S. economy. They weren't quite ready because they had too much invested in us. They've been pulling back now for a few years, buying away gold and divesting themselves. But now that Putin is looking at pulling out of the dollar as the basis of their money, and China's looking at doing the same thing. If something like this happens, if we don't become or remain the reserve for the world, we're going to see other nations pull out, and we're going to see economic disaster beyond what we can even fathom.
There's another aspect to very, very despicable leadership that Obama's showing, and that's turning over all your cards face up on the table and telling the world that we're going to weaken our military, that we're going to cut back, etc. It's like going into a boxing match and yelling across at the other corner, hey, I can't throw a right hook or a left cross because my shoulders hurt. I mean, it's telling everybody on the opposition what you can and can't do. The weakness of America is being shown through this president.
Well, absolutely. This president is, and of course, you know, I always go bigger than the president. This president, who is simply the figurehead of the progressive movement, represents exactly where they're headed. And whether he stays in office, whether he is replaced by another progressive, we have the same problems on the table, because their view is that if we disarm, if we give up all of our defenses, that other people in the world will say, oh, gee, they're good, they're nice people, so we'll do the same thing. And you and I both know the world doesn't work that way. A bad guy is a bad guy, and he's not going to kowtow to your whims and say, well, gee, you laid down your gun, so I'm going to lay mine down. That doesn't happen. He's going to take advantage of you when you do that.
Absolutely. Now, there's another issue I want to talk to you about this morning, and it is the issue of our space travel. I mentioned this to Senator Mike Crapo, our United States Senator, last hour, and he is as absolutely outraged over this as I am, and I want to get your response on this. We are paying Russia right now $70 million per trip for our astronauts to go back and forth to the space shuttle. $70 million per trip. We were the world's leader in space, and like I said to Mike Crapo, now we have to pay to hitch a ride. This is embarrassing for the United States.
Well, it is. We have to remember that a number of years ago, Obama said NASA's job was not to explore space, it was to expand Muslim outreach, and shifted their mission and has really pulled us away from exploring space. And the mindset, what bothers me here are many things. The biggest of which is we move away from being the world's leader in the sciences, and we weaken ourselves once again in another area. But once again, our president does not see that as important. And part of this, I think, that is so sad is most Americans don't know the benefits that space exploration has brought us. Most people think, oh, great, we had a guy step on the moon once years ago. We have something that, goes around the Earth, and they don't understand all the benefits that are far beyond space exploration that we get out of NASA.
And so he has once again gutted and weakened part of our whole, the whole part of what makes America exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's done it to the space program. He's doing it to the military. We see it every time you turn around. He's doing it to another area, and nobody's standing up. And this is why we have such a problem in our Congress. We need a Congress that is fighting, not laying down like they are.
Absolutely. I want to change gears here and mention something to you that I've talked about in the first hour. And I made the claim on this program, and I'm going to stand behind it. Do we have a call? I thought I heard that moo. Gina, we do have a call. Okay, we'll take the call quickly. Fast, caller, please. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling to ask you and your guest if either one of you have ever watched the DVD, The Harbinger.
I have seen parts of it, yes.
Well, I think Obama is just fulfilling prophecy. I think because we have gay marriage, pornography, abortion, all these things that God does not approve of, I think God is, I think Obama's probably going to bring America down, because I think we are to that point. I'm not sure there's a turnaround.
I tell you what,
It's all in prophecy, and it's in that Harbinger video.
I agree. I tell you what I'm going to do. Rather than me take up all the time, I'll have Doug respond, and I'll concur after he's finished. Thank you very much for your call. It was well stated. Thank you very much.
I think you would both benefit from watching the Harbinger.
All right. Well, thank you very much again for your call. Doug, you want to respond, please?
Yeah, I won't go into a lot of detail. It's interesting this question should come up because I'm working on a piece I may put on my blog in the next week. I haven't decided yet, but it has to do with the end times, and it's going a little different angle than I usually go in a political blog. But because I'm a person of faith and I believe fully in biblical prophecy, it's just there's so much out there that I think maybe I may make or do a piece on it. I'm familiar with the Harbinger. I don't agree with it because I think that Rabbi Kahn, who got involved with Joseph Farah and put this together, has kind of misled in some areas. I don't think it's true prophecy. That said, I'm not condemning the fact of what the caller said. What is interesting to me is that we are seeing so many prophecies fulfilled now for the end times, and we know that if we do trust the Bible, we know that America has to either be diminished or demolished for the end times to come to fruition, because America is mentioned nowhere in Scripture. And so that could happen, but we also know that God promises us that if we will repent of our sin, repent of our evil way, and turn to Him, He will give us another chance. And so while I do believe the end will come for America, and it very well may come in our own lifetimes, I also believe that if Americans will turn away from their immorality and all the evil things we think and do and allow in our society, and she gave some good examples. You know, abortion is huge, for example. This case before the Supreme Court, I think, is critical. And Zeb, I think that if America would do that and turn back to God, that God would then put His hand of blessing back on us, and we would have another chance. We would have a revival and have another chance to take history a little further down the road and see more people really turn to God and not see the mess we have right now in our world.
I think to sum it up in very short terminology, just be very aware and wary of false prophets and false things that have not happened. Just basically put your trust in the word of what's in the Bible, and you'll be A-OK. I think you'd give a short summation in agreement to what I just said.
Here's my short summation and agreement. Amen.
Okay.
I think you're absolutely right.
Now, I want to throw another subject at you real fast, and we've only got about...
No matter what else we do, without a nation committed to God, we cannot survive. Even our founders saw that.
Absolutely. Doug, I've only got about 4 minutes left, and I want to get into something else with you real fast. I am very concerned in this country, and I'm a talk show host that's not going to run away from race-related stories. I'm not going to be a coward like most are. In Philadelphia, there's an investigation underway right now with voter fraud committed by 4 black Democrats, and the white investigator held off on anything going to the news media or going possibly for arrest and incrimination because the white investigator was afraid they would call him a racist. Are we going to start deciding law in this country based on race? This is absolutely despicable.
we already do, unfortunately. Former Justice Department Attorney J. Christian Adams left the Justice Department over this very issue when in 2008 the New Black Panthers, as I'm sure you're aware, there was a case brought because they were intimidating white voters outside of a voting precinct in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And Eric Holder's Justice Department refused to prosecute because Eric Holder's view is that you cannot discriminate against white people. You can only discriminate against minorities. He will not allow prosecution to be had if there was something done against white people. That's his belief. And J. Christian Adams wrote a great book about it, and I think we have seen that already come to fruition. We have a country paralyzed by the word racism. They are scared to death of it. And frankly, it was years ago, it's not even time now, it was time years ago for us to stop the nonsense and say, this is about right and wrong, it's not about color.
That
never be about color. It should always be about right and wrong. But we see people putting their heads in their sands. We see the black mob violence popping up around the country. Louisville, Kentucky is overwhelmed with it right now.
That's right.
Minneapolis, where you went to school, where I grew up and went to school, which used to be a wonderful community. I mean, I never growing up there heard a thing about race. Just accepted people for who they were. Today they have a terrible problem with black mob violence. So we see this going on around the country, and the media won't report it. The politicians won't talk about it. And all it's going to do is create more problems unless you address it and deal with it.
And the only way to deal with it, is to somehow absolutely embarrass and discriminate against the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons that are nothing more than paid race baiters. Until these people realize the damage that they're causing in America, it's not going to go away.
Well, that's right, because people like them don't care about the big picture. All they care about is lining their pockets. Their power and their money is all they care about. And we have to be bigger than that, and we have to care about what's right and what's wrong. And, we've all seen the statue of, Justice holding up the scales with a blindfold on. Justice should be blind. It shouldn't matter anything about a person other than what's right and wrong. And unfortunately, we don't see that. And it's really time that we have some courageous people stand up and lead our country and say, enough of this. We have to do what's right. And you put a stop to these problems when you do that, but I'm afraid we're not going to see that anytime soon.
Doug, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program every Wednesday, but again, I'm going to give you a little time right now to plug your book and also where people can get your new book. Doug Johnson, go ahead.
Okay, well, the new book's called The Leadership Secret, and it actually kind of talks about what we're talking about here, Zeb, the kind of people who we need to lead in every area of our lives, because leadership is leadership. It doesn't matter whether you're leading your family, whether you're leading your Sunday school class, whether you're leading the business civic organization. It doesn't matter where you're leading. Leadership is leadership, and especially now at this crucial time in our history in America, we need leaders. And so in this book, I define from my own business background and my years of experience, 39-plus years in business, I define what I've learned about leadership and the 16 character traits of what I call true leaders and what we need to look for in these kind of people. And so the book's called The Leadership Secret. They can, if they look at the horsesenseblog.com or DougJohnsonOnline.com, they'll see the little purple cover of the book. They can click on it. That will take them to the Amazon link for the paperback or the Kindle version, or they can just go to a local bookstore, and most bookstores should be able to order it and get it. If they prefer to get it there, that's fine. But I hope they'd enjoy the book. It's gotten a really good response, and what I'm trying to do is help people understand we need to really choose the right kind of people. And the last thing I'll say, Zeb, is what we don't need is what I heard the other day right here in Colorado. This weekend I was in Colorado Springs, which is just down the road from me, and I was listening to a radio show while I was driving along, and it was a political show talking about the upcoming elections for our new sheriff, because I live in the edge of the county that encompasses Colorado Springs. I'm way on the edge, but I am in that county. And the sheriff has been term limited, and they asked a caller who he was going to support and why, and he said, well, the man I'm going to support is so-and-so because he has a life-size cutout of John Wayne he's going to put in his office, and that's good enough for me.
Oh, brother.
And I got to tell you, I was screaming at the radio saying, I love John Wayne. I love what he stood for, but that's not how you choose a candidate.
That's exactly right.
And we got to quit choosing people on a superficial basis. And
Amen.
So this tells you what we need to use to choose people.
Amen. Doug Johnson, Colorado, thank you so much. God's blessings to you. Look forward to next Wednesday. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Zeb. You have a good week.
All right. Thank you much. Oh, my goodness. We got a lot to tell you about. Oh, first of all, I want to remind you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. You're going, oh, you're going to talk insurance? Yes, I am, because you keep putting it on the back burner. Don't do that. You've got to get in and find out about your life insurance coverage, your health coverage, your retirement planning, your employee benefits. You got to make sure all your ducks are in a row. Absolutely. And these people can help. Dean and Todd at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, they are very dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you have to do is give them a call and set up an appointment, 436-4424. It's easy. Call them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, serving you. Oh, by the way, there is going to be, and we've been really hitting this, and tomorrow we're going to have Fred on the air, a great big horse and mule sale, the 42nd annual horse and mule sale going on at the Salmon Select Horse Sale. This is going to be at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, Idaho, all the way from April 9th through the 13th. I'm telling you, folks, this isn't just a mule sale and a horse sale. Oh, no. They've got so many other things going on. They got mule clinics, and they got packing clinics, and they got riding competition. They've got all kinds of rendezvous with the Idaho Outfitters and Guides. They've got everything up there. This is going to be just a great big happening. Don't miss it. Up at Salmon, Idaho on April 9th through the 13th. Team ropings, barrel racings. Holy cow. A lot of fun. At the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, of course, the 42nd annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. Don't you miss it. We wanted to get up there for that the last couple of years, and something has always come up, and I'm hoping this year just boogie on up and enjoy. By the way, talking about enjoying, that leads me over to my next sponsor and advertiser, and that's, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. 67 years. 67 years, and they're having their big anniversary. That's right. Man, that is something else to be in business over 67 years. And they've got all your carpet, they've got all your bedroom sets, they've got all your sofas and your recliners and your accessories and your lamps, and what are you waiting for? Get on in there. They've got everything for the beautification and the comfort of your home. Absolutely. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. We're going to go to the phone lines right now, and we're going to visit with a very, very good friend of mine, and he is a Jerome County Commissioner, team roper extraordinaire, Arizona Grand Canyon enthusiast, and loves to go down there and bask in the sunshine. Charlie Howell. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, Zeb. I do apologize. I can just barely hear you, even though I'm on a landline.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll try to amplify it a little bit, and I'll talk louder into the microphone. Charlie, I wanted you to come on the program this morning on behalf of the Jerome County Commissioners and talk a little bit about the pitfalls or the problems that maybe the base jumpers create for counties in southern Idaho. How much of a danger is that to the counties and possible lawsuits?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's one person I did not talk to this morning was our attorney. But the commissioners as a board have never discussed it, never come before us. That would be brought by Sheriff McFall, even though I know he's made some statements here lately. So we haven't really discussed it. So the pitfalls and the legal part back to the county commissioners, I'm not sure. Good question.
Okay. By the way, what's the name of the new puppy?
Pardon?
What is the name of the new puppy that's barking in the background?
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to call him Packer.
Okay. Charlie, when an event happens in a county, how much preparation do you have to know about beforehand, whether it's base jumping or whether it's jumping the canyon? I mean, does the county have to be informed of everything well in advance to give an approval or a disapproval?
As far as the base jumping off of the bridge, we have no say about it. That's an ITD and a state legislature issue. So we don't regulate that. That's all on them. And it would have to be changed by the state legislature or the Transportation Board could put some restrictions on it, but we don't have anything to say about that. As far as jumping the canyon, that has been an ongoing process. We're very involved in that. We've revised our mass gathering ordinance, as we call it, to try to put some teeth into it and protect the taxpayers from that source. But as far as not bungee jumping, as far as base jumping, we don't have any regulations or anything.
Let me ask you a question, though. We've been friends for a long time, and when these guys and gals decide to jump off the bridge, I feel that they're a traffic hazard. I feel that if they're injured, it's a negative against possibly the people that are serving as far as taking care of them with first response and medical people. Are they responsible for all the bills, or is the county left holding the bag sometimes?
Well, it could be very well. The county could be left holding the bill. I know that any off-duty officers that are called in that the county pay for, we pay for them. The person that does the accident doesn't do that. Any medical bills or anything like that, even if they're, as we would call, indigent, I don't believe the county would be responsible because we're not the responsible county where they reside. So I don't think that would cost us. The search and rescue costs, I talked to the sheriff this morning and Lieutenant Kennedy, and they both say, yep, all the search and rescue costs are non-reimbursable unless the person has been told not to do it, whatever that event may be, such as snowmobiling, hiking in the canyon. If they're told not to do it and they do it, then they can go back and try to recover those costs. And the same thing has been said of it was in the newspaper this morning about dumping the dummy off the bridge, even though it's a quote-unquote prank. If it's considered to be a negligent prank, they could be liable for costs of recovering that dummy and whatever the incident costs.
Very good. Charlie, let me shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk to you a little bit about animal rights and problems that we're seeing now with different organizations like the Mercy Fund for Animals and HSUS, etc. What are your feelings about some of the things that have been going on trying to defame and denigrate not only the dairy industry, but animal industries in general?
Well, I think that's the difference that we're trying to point out. And Jerome County Commissioners mailed a letter to the legislature supporting that bill. And the basis that we supported that bill on was it was interference with a private business. And that was the point. We're not trying to hide any, if there's animal cruelty, there's rules for that. But to try to put somebody out of business through and I say no responsibility of their own, but we're all responsible for our employees. But still, it's if they're doing something illegal, that's the difference in the key. It doesn't say that it prevents animal cruelty, but I just can't see it justifying as eco-terrorism, as we call it, for ag terrorism, to go out and try to ruin somebody's business just because one of their employees did something. I don't feel that's not the American way.
Yeah, Charlie, let's extend this a little bit more, because I don't think that this ag bill should have been considered just a dairy legislation. I think it affects anybody and everybody that has access to animals and uses animals. It could be a horse operation, it could be a hog operation, a sheep operation, it could be any number of things, because these people that are behind this, the Mercy Fund for Animals and HSUS, they want to see a complete stoppage of any animal usage.
Correct, and they've stated that's their goal. I mean, you look at the Western watersheds; their goal is to remove all animals off the BLM and the Forest Service. So, yeah, that's their stated goal. That's public information, public knowledge, and I just don't think that's where it needs to go. We feed the world, we feed our people, and that's one of the ways they get it done.
How can agriculture, from a county commissioner's viewpoint, and you live right in the hub of the dairy industry over there, and then you're also a roper like I am, and you have roping cattle, etc. We're all involved in agriculture. What can we better do to inform the public that maybe has moved in from New York or Philadelphia or whatever that really doesn't understand animal agriculture?
Well, that's a good point. I think the Idaho Cattle Association is trying to, and the Dairy Association is trying to address those issues, is to get them more knowledge out there, to show them that their animals are treated very well in 99% of the cases. I mean, my horses and even though we rope the Corrientes steers, they go to the vet more often than I do. Now I go see a doctor. So I think that's the key, is the education, and it's the same thing with our lifestyle. Our lifestyle is different than the people out east. I have a brother that lives in Arkansas. brother-in-law, sorry, and we differ on different issues. But once he came out and saw our lifestyle, he enjoys it, he embraces it, he understands it. So I think that's the whole part, is the education part. Same thing with agriculture. How do you farm? That's their money makers, their land. So they've got to treat their land appropriately to make the return on their investment.
I want to ask you a little bit about Jerome County itself, because it's grown in leaps and bounds from way back in the 70s, and you've seen some major changes over in Jerome County. Where are you at right now? I mean, are you at a kind of a status quo to the point where there's no room for enhancement of anything, or is there still room for more agricultural improvements?
Well, and I take it from the agricultural improvements, you're talking about more dairies. There is some land still available for dairies to come into the county. Whether they can afford it or not, that's a different question. But as far as our regulations, we're still trying to regulate to make sure that everybody's drinking water is safe, that there's still some things unregulated. Smell is not regulated. Dust is not regulated, a few things like that. So we're still trying to make it, quote, quote, eco-friendly, because I drink the same water as everybody else does. Having said that, I don't know. I don't see it expanding too much just because of the cost, even though the price of milk is up, is what I've been told.
Okay.
Still some room, but I'm not sure how much they're going to expand.
And last question, what about the big issue that we spent so much time on, the Jerome County Jail? What's the story on that?
Well, it's quite ironic, because we got two bills on Monday from the architect, and had 2 trips down to the county, and none of the commissioners knew anything about it, so we've had to visit with the sheriff. But I do have a floor plan, a solid floor plan in my hand as of this morning. They came down yesterday and had another visit. So I think we're getting ready to go out and ask for requests for proposals, and hopefully by a couple months we'll be breaking ground. That's my optimistic view. But architects are doing more than what I thought they were doing, because we hadn't heard from them at all, but they've been visiting with the sheriff on the floor plan, the walking design, just like when you build your house. Well, let's move this door over this way because your flow is better. It makes no sense to put the bathroom over here because it's way out of the road. You can't get people to it. So that was some of the preliminary designs they've done, and that part's been accomplished, the site plan, and so now we're off and running. So we're getting closer.
Okay. Charlie, I want to say thanks very much for coming on the program this morning. Dear friend Charlie Howell, Jerome County Commissioner, thank you, and best of luck this summer roping, my friend.
You bet, and go Pack Go, and that's where the dog got his name.
Okay, thank you very much, Charlie Howell.
Thanks.
You betcha. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. We'll talk about anything and everything for the rest of this half hour. What happened yesterday, I'll share this with you real quick, is we had some changes. Some folks that were scheduled 2 weeks in advance to be in these various time segments, they called and said they couldn't come on the show, and so we had to hurry to double up, catch up, and try to find somebody else to come on here, and we really appreciate Charlie helping filling in. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness, they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays 9 to 6, and that is where the fun is sold. Have you been over there and checked out all the ATVs they've got in stock? Woo, man, it is Easter egg hunt city over there. All the different colors, different sizes, everything. It is a lot of fun. You got to get in there and check it out today. And don't forget the watercrafts are coming in every day, and the parts and service department, best guys in the valley figuring out any problems you might have, and all the accessories too. It's all there at Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop over and see those good folks today. All right, give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, yesterday on the news, you had a story about the increase in speed limits, and you made a comment that you are not in favor of the increase in speed limits, and why?
Here's the reason why I'm not in favor of it. Number 2, it creates unsafe roadways. People are already going fast enough. Number 3, it's not good on the gas economy. If you're looking for miles per gallon and you want to get the most out of your vehicle, the optimum is between 55 and 65 miles an hour. Take that into consideration with all of the big rigs on the on the roads that don't need to be going that fast anyway.
Well, let me ask you, do you have a breakdown of how this speed limit is going to change? What is it? It's going to go up to 80 on the interstate, right?
80 on the interstate, and I do believe believe, 65 on the highway.
Now, see, that upsets me a little bit. When you talk highways, you're talking about like U.S. Highway 30.
Or U.S. Highway 55. If you've ever driven up 55, you cannot go 65 on that road.
That's right. And we have been adamant here in this area in Murtaugh to lower the speed limit, and we did, through Idaho Department of Transportation, get about a 2-mile segment lowered down to 45 because of the severe lack of visibility, and also children and the church and other places on that stretch of road. And when you start talking about cranking those trucks up to 65 and then bringing them back down to 45, they're not. And they're not doing it now.
Well, and specifically with like Highway 30, it goes through a lot of rural towns, communities, and there's a lot of farms that are located on that highway. And so you do need to reduce down the speed limit in areas such as Highway 30, specifically because it's still rural, but there's a lot of people that live on that road.
Now, the other day, I pulled out of my yard. Now, I hope the guy is listening right now, because I want to say this, and I wished I knew his name, because I would embarrass him on the radio. I pulled out at exactly 7:45 out of my driveway. Now, Gina, at exactly 7:45, with the sun in that certain position in the sky, looking to the east, and that big dip, this guy was coming like a house of fire. He passed me after I got on the highway. He passed another vehicle ahead of me, and then another truck, all of which was in the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on a double yellow line.
That's when you get to the description of the car and the license plate if you can, and call ISP.
Absolutely.
I've done that so many times. You've got a quick phone call.
I'll take that call in just a minute. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you. Don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems and Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call 678-0459. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. Thanks to our friends Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Hey, I think the way I understood it, the highway speed limit will go up to 60. If you call between Burley and Murtaugh on Highway 30, it's already at 65. They just recently changed that. And then on the interstates, go up to 80. The only problem I have with that is you're going to jump the interstate up to 80 and still leave the truck speed at 65. That creates a hazard as well.
Well, you know as well as I do, there's going to be a lot of cheating. There's always the 5 mile and over cheat rule. If you put a speed limit at 70, most people will go 75. You put a speed limit at 80, they'll go 85. I personally do not, I guess I'm getting to be an old fogey. I just don't understand why we need these increased speed limits, especially on state highways with rural availability and all the traffic hazards. I'm against it myself.
I understand. I mean, I see the same thing. There's the difference in time between 75 and 80 miles an hour. 5 miles an hour is not justified in my book.
Well, and over here where I live, and I know I'm being very prejudicial and very self-serving on this, and I apologize for that, but we begged and pleaded to have no passing zones put up and recognized, because there's a double yellow line. They pass on the double yellow line. We begged and pleaded for the speed limit to come down so that people could turn out of their yards, and the kids up at the church could turn out of the church or that the little restaurant and grocery store without fear of getting killed and run over. We finally got it lowered to 45, but I will guarantee you that less than 20% of the drivers are adhering to it.
Absolutely. I understand completely.
And I would love, honestly, and I mean this, and I've got another caller stand by, but I would love to sit outside one day, from 8 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon and take with a radar gun, and I will bet you a steak dinner at the place of your choice that less than, like I said a moment ago, 20% are going to adhere to the speed limit, most of which are going to be up around 60 to 65 miles an hour.
I don't think I'd bet against it.
Okay. God bless you for your call. Thank you very much.
Good day, sir.
All right, sir. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I know what you mean. The other end of Highway 30 is about the same. You take your life in your hands. When you hit that 5-mile curve and head past Coors, those trucks will pull right out in front. They are just so stiff courteous, and I cannot tell you how many times I've had to slam on my brakes as I go to work every day and let somebody in, and I look behind me, and there is nobody. They could have waited for just one more car and been safe, but no, their time's more valuable than anybody else.
You know, ma'am, I absolutely thank you for your call and your viewpoint, because it was very well stated, and you couldn't have taken the words out of my mouth any better. I mean, I am sick and tired of turning out of my driveway with a horse trailer on or whatever and having some great big 24-wheeler right on my tail honking at me to hurry up and get out of the way when I'm actually doing the speed limit in that zone, and they're exceeding it by 20 to maybe 25 miles an hour.
Yeah. It's no man's land once you reach Coors and head into Burley, because people they just lose all sense of whatever.
I agree.
That's just it. They're on their own. So.
I agree. And
anyway,
thank you very, very much. I appreciate your call. God bless you, and have a good day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Nice lady right there. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you're talking about the speed limits on the interstate. My opinion on that is that would kind of be like Utah, that out there between towns. It ought to be the same for trucks and cars, for the simple fact that trucks tend to get in the road and we're trying to pass one another, and then the cars get in front of you, they pass you on the left, they pass you on the right, they cut you off, they take the exit. If everything stays the same and everything's moving at the same rate of speed, you have less tendency for people to try and do that kind of stuff to you.
Well, you know, Riley, the point you're making is a well-conceived point, because what you've got when you've got vehicles going sometimes as much as 15 to 20 miles an hour less, you've got an encroachment factor where all of a sudden you might be half dazed off and realize you're running right into the back of a semi, and then you pull out the pass and you've got like a Chinese fire drill trying to get around them safely. Absolutely, I agree. I just am not in favor of this speed limit going up to 80 miles an hour on the interstate.
There's no need for it.
I don't see it. And I take disagreement with the governor for signing that bill.
And there's another thing about it. Your area where you live, that should be down to about 35. When I go through a residential area in a truck, I always try to drop down at least 5 miles an hour slower than the posted speed limit.
Yeah.
Due to the fact of, just because I got more tires on the ground does not mean I'm going to stop any quicker.
Amen. And I want to compliment you. I've noticed when you have driven by in that great big outfit, you really put her down, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yep, have a good one.
You bet. Take care. Gina, I just think that you're opening up a Pandora's box of problems that with the enhanced speed limit right now, I honestly, unless there's somebody from IDOT that wants to call me right now and say, oh, you shouldn't say this, you're dead wrong, etc., I want somebody to tell me why I am wrong, because I don't think enhanced speed, especially in the rural areas on a state highway, and I'll use Highway 30 or 55 like you said, I just don't see where that enhanced speed is necessary and safe.
I don't see it either. And you know, if they're driving on the interstate and the speed limit is 80, that means they're going to be going 85 or 90.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, and for Pete's sakes, what's the matter with drivers today that you can't look down at the road and see a double yellow line and have the brain capacity of an ant to realize that it's no passing zone?
Sometimes I wonder if people actually looked at the driver's instruction manual when they took the test.
Well, this complete idiot that passed me the other day on the double yellow line and then goes about 400 yards ahead of me and passes another vehicle right up by the store on the double yellow line, then passes a great big milk truck on the double yellow line. And, I wished I could have got his license plate number because I would have reveled in the fact that maybe somebody would have given him a citizen's arrest and charged him with very poor driving.
Agree. Well, that happened to us a couple weekends ago. We were coming back from Soldier. We went up there skiing, And we were traveling back on the highway, not the interstate, the highway that goes through Wendell. And some guy in a small little car literally passed us at 90 miles an hour with a big rig coming right at us. And so the big rig and us, we had to swerve out of the way just to make sure that this guy didn't cause a three vehicle accident.
Oh, see.
It's insane. People need, and this was again on a double yellow line.
Yep, I just don't understand it.
Slow down. Quit being in a hurry. If you're running late, that's your bad. Leave a couple minutes earlier.
Yeah, amen to that. We'll take this next caller in just a minute. Caller, I think Gina will tell me, I think I forgot the weather, did I not?
I think you did.
I'd better do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the weather this hour brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Purchase a firearm from Red's Trading Post and receive training bucks for both LMS defense and Shaw shooting to use in their rifle and pistol training courses. All your guns, all your ammo, all your accessories right there at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls. Caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by. Here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Rogers of MichaelRogersWeather.com. Clouds, sun, and a mix of showers later on today, but we're working our way to being on that backside of the cold front. Temperatures looking for a high today of about 53. Overnight low right around 40. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Red's Trading Post. Guns, ammo, and all the accessories. 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. This is Jeff, your favorite truck driver.
Yes, sir. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, the speed limit right now on the interstate being 75 for cars and 65 for trucks. A lot of these truck drivers, and this is the one thing that really annoys me, being a truck driver myself, I've been passed by some of my trucks going at least 75 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How come the state police won't enforce that? I mean, it just seems like they got a pass on this. I mean, I watched one the other day passing me at about 70, and about that time we went right past the state patrolman, didn't even blink an eye at him.
You know, I can't answer that question, and neither can you, but I will say this, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. Number one, I know the Idaho State Police is overworked and understaffed. That being said, if they went right by a policeman that had the ability and the capability of understanding what the speed was, he should have taken action and taken some kind of action against that driver. I totally agree with you. But in essence, what about the general speed limit overall? When you look at the highway system and the interstate system, as a truck driver, can you please tell me why in a rural area that speed should be enhanced?
No, well, I mean, it shouldn't go up, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Actually, I agree with that other truck driver that talked about it, and when I go through residential areas or through a city, I normally slow down below the speed limit.
Right.
Because these 105, 110,000 pound trucks, they don't stop as quick as a car.
Yeah, and let me ask you another question, and I'm going to point the finger at one industry that has been very guilty of passing right here in front of my place on a double yellow line, and that's the milk truck industry. What is it with these guys? Are they on that much of a tight schedule to get that milk back into the processing that they have to pass and almost wreak loss of life and limb because they're passing in a no-passing zone?
I can't answer that. I don't know why they're in a hurry, but I used to drive a milk truck, and we always seemed to have plenty of time to get that milk. You know, we weren't that rushed for it, but I think they're just in a hurry, that's all.
Well,
just in a hurry.
I appreciate your comments, and thank you very, very much for your call this morning. God's blessings to you. Drive safe, okay? Thank you. I just absolutely am adamantly opposed to the increase in the speed limit because I think it's just going to be a gimme for more and above. And as far as what's going on here on this road, I hope there are some people listening right now that are going in this section of road that I don't care if you hate me, despise me, or agree with me. If you can't tell by a double yellow line that's no passing, you shouldn't have a license or it should be taken away. And if you're going to be going over the 45 and doing 60 and 65, basically thumbing your nose at the safety of others, I hope you get nailed and lose your license that way too.
There is one saving grace with this bill. It is requiring that the ITD conducts traffic and an engineering study to figure out which roads can have the speed limit increase and which roads should not. So a study has to be done, and this law truly doesn't go into effect until July 1st, and you've got a phone call.
I'll take one quick call. I've only got 60 seconds left. Good morning. You're on the air. Quickly. Talk to me, caller. Fast. Go, please.
Yeah, I have a brother that drives for a company, and they have their trucks governed at 60. The reason for the saving of the fuel, and if they drive them at that, then they get paid extra money for driving them at that speed, because that's where they get their best fuel mileage.
Good point. And
everybody already drives 80 now anyway, except for the trucks. But I agree with Riley. You know, they need to put them both at the same speed so that we don't have problems out there.
I agree with you, sir. Thank you very much for your call. It was appreciated. Thank you much. I got to run to the news. ABC News is next. We'll be back. And at 10:06, we've got Dan Kish with the Institute for Energy Research talking about energy and the United States and its problems. I'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3 with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you and some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. Gina, have you ever had one of those days where, honestly, I said earlier, everything I touched, I was knocking over, tipping over, or whatever, but then I started yawning about an hour ago, and you can't quit yawning? Did you ever have that happen to you on the news on TV?
Yeah, I have, actually. That's when you put the paper over your face and yawn.
And then Joe starts laughing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to have our guest on the air momentarily. Stand by. I want to tell everybody about the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. And today, Wednesday, they're going to have lasagna with garlic toast and super salad. And every day they've got a special. Every day they welcome you in there to enjoy the great food and the great surroundings, all the sports memorabilia, everything at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Great people, too. 139 West Main in Burley. Today, lasagna at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Let's go to the phones and welcome on our program. Boy, it's been a long time since we've had him on the air. Good morning with the Institute for Energy Research. Dan Kish, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Zeb, and I hope you are as well.
I am, but you know, Dan, to kind of set the mood for what we're going to talk about, I am extremely frustrated as a radio broadcaster and then also as a private citizen that this administration just absolutely is not listening. They're not heeding what the American public wants and what the economy needs, and that's a more comprehensive energy program that's affordable. What's going on here?
Well, you know, he told us this is what he wanted. He said under his plan, electricity prices were necessarily going to skyrocket, Zeb. You know, that's a quote from him back in 2008. So people are now getting what they want and or what they voted for, and elections have consequences. I think in your neck of the woods, folks didn't exactly support that, but there's plenty of folks in the city who depend on the government and such, that or young people who aren't paying attention, or folks who are just too busy watching Entertainment Tonight or whatever. And at the end of it, we live with the consequences. And so we're not only beginning to see it affect our own energy prices, but we're seeing our ability to affect things around the world be diminished, and people are sort of waking up to the idea that, hey, what happened to my country?
Yeah.
Literally.
Dan, let me ask you this. You know, you get around quite a bit on the East Coast, and you're talking to a lot of people. You just mentioned about us out here in a very conservative area not wanting Obama to be president. But is there a lot of what you might hear as buyer's remorse against this administration now that these people have had a chance to see through his policies and his transparency?
It's beginning. I mean, I think people are reluctant to admit that they made a mistake. Zeb, in large measure, folks are always we've all been there. Not necessarily with respect to voting for him, but in terms of our making a decision that didn't turn out to be the best one, and I don't like to be reminded about it. So I think to some degree that has an impact on folks, but you even see it in the media every once in a while. I mean, the president got some pretty tough questions in Europe yesterday from some places I didn't expect he'd get them.
I agree.
And that's a first to my knowledge. So
absolutely.
Maybe they're beginning to peel that back, and maybe they're beginning to say, wait a minute, it's time to really not let them off the hook on everything.
Let me ask you, there's all kinds of things going on. The Keystone Pipeline, again, we're still not sure what he's going to do on that. And this morning, you're going to be here telling us about the Department of Energy approving a natural gas export terminal in Oregon. And with the world right now, basically, under the thumb of Vladimir Putin, it looks like, more so than the United States and Obama, energy is really critical. What good is this natural gas export for the United States?
Well, here's what it is. Obviously, expanding markets for our goods is a good thing, whether it's cattle or, our grains or whatever, or Boeing aircraft or you name it, whenever we can sell to the rest of the world because it makes sense to do so economically, it's a good thing because it means people here at home are busy making all those things, and that improves our economy, puts our people to work, makes us stronger. When we're stronger economically, it also helps us in terms of projecting our strength and protecting our interests abroad. We can even afford, to pay our folks in the military, so that we don't have to reduce the number of people we've got in the services the way we've done, and reduce the number of ships, and reduce our ability to protect our interests. All those things are true. We've got the resources. This particular LNG port, who knows if it'll ultimately get built? All people have been asking is could you tell us whether we can get the permit to go ahead and do it, and then we can decide whether it makes economic sense. But the reason it's important is because we see that nobody in Europe is calling for, help send us windmills and solar panels because we buy too much of our energy from Russia. What they're saying is we got to get off this Russian gas because there's a big price associated with it. And so that's what we're seeing in real time. And the president's policies are being shown to be what they are. They've been ridiculous. I mean, even he isn't proposing that we send solar panels and windmills to Europe to help strengthen their resolve against the Russians. The truth of the matter is Russia's an energy powerhouse. They produce almost as much natural gas as we do, but they use a lot less, and they export a huge amount. And they produce almost as much oil as we do, but they export a lot more of theirs to Europe. And as a result, Europe sits there saying, gee, how can we complain about anything they do when we're dependent on them for our energy? And energy is lifeblood.
Dan, is it a good thing to have natural gas as an export item? Is it a profitable item to export? And who would be our number one purchasers?
Yeah, great questions. Well, I think it's a good thing to be able to have enough natural gas to export it, and we do. We've got well over a century of natural gas. We don't want for natural gas, and but what we need is the ability to at least do it. I can't tell you, Zeb, whether it makes economic sense. That's not my job. I'm not going to be one of those people in Washington who seems to know better than the people who are in the business. The president's tried that with green energy, and what it means is he says this is the wave of the future, and all they need is our money, and we see the results. What I can't tell you is this. A lot of people think they can sell around the globe to places, and obviously the West Coast LNG port would logically be something that's going to go to the Far East, to Japan, to Korea, maybe to China in sales. But what that also means is that if there's a demand for that, Boeing doesn't build Boeing doesn't build additional factories to make a Boeing aircraft if there's no export market for them. And the same with wells. We're going to drill more wells here at home. That's going to put Americans to work. That's going to get people off the couch who would rather be working and off the unemployment lines, welding and building pipe and all the rest of the things that are going to do it. So anything that makes us stronger is good, Zeb. That's kind of the way I look at it. And if it makes economic sense, it'll be proven in the market. I'm not here to second guess and try to figure out, impose my beliefs on other things. If I wanted to do that, I'd run for office along with the president.
You know, you made a very, very interesting point, though, about 5 paragraphs before when you said about the green energy, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit. Isn't it interesting to you and your job with the Institute for Energy Research, and as much as you're researching energy every day and going on various radio programs, if this government is so hell-bent on trying to promote solar and wind power, why aren't they doing the same promotion to other countries and, like you said earlier, possibly shipping those materials overseas?
Well, that's because they know that people would laugh at us.
That's right.
It'd be like saying, hey, you big bad Russians are on your doorstep. Here, try one of our pop guns. The president knows that. The president knows that now he's playing on a different level. People are going to go with this stuff, and the environmentalists, are screaming about exports of any kind of energy because they don't want to produce here at home. And so we see what's happening there. But when the balloon goes up, when people get serious about things, when there are literally life and death decisions being made around the world, people aren't turning to wind and solar to save their bacon. They're turning to oil and gas. They ought to be turning to American coal. And we ought to not be turning our back on American coal, by the way, also. I mean, that's I don't know how we're expected to export additional things when the president wants to shut down our coal and we're going to have to burn something. That'd be natural gas. And he's not been very good to the nuclear folks either. And all these things are things we invented. The Brits invented using coal back in the Industrial Revolution, which I think should be renamed the Energy Revolution because that's really what it was. But when it comes to nuclear, we invented it. When it comes to oil and gas, we invented it. These are technologies we ought to be excelling in. You know who's the number one exporter of nuclear technology in the world right now, building nuclear power plants around the world, Zeb? Russia.
You just enhanced my point. What, in your opinion, Dan, is it going to take to create a tipping point in this country to where we finally have the nerve to look at the left and the socialists and the environmentalists and say enough is enough? We've listened to you. You've dictated to us in small numbers, and you've been the squeaky wheel that's got the grease. But now we're going to take energy matters into our own hands and be a progressive society again and try to rebuild America. What do you think is the tipping point before that may ever happen?
Well, I'll tell you, Zeb, I actually think that what's happened is the president has gotten so aggressive in his policies. People are seeing it. They're seeing it in their bills. They're seeing it in their quality of life. They're seeing that their kids are living in their basement because they can't get work. They're seeing, wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture. This isn't the America I foresee. This isn't the kind of, or if they live someplace in rural America, they're looking at it and their kids have to move away from home to get a job because the sorts of things that we've been doing in rural America or, with our hands, which used to be considered good, honest, hard work in building America, is no longer allowed by the EPA in this administration. I think what's happening is people are beginning to discover that, wait a minute, this is not what I signed up for. And so in that respect, maybe we're already learning the lesson. It's just unfortunate that we've learned it a little bit too late. Hopefully people can rectify that with their decision making in the future, and it's opened their eyes to just see exactly how ludicrous this stuff is.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead with your call. Thank you.
Yeah, your guest said earlier about something about us sending windmills to Europe. Well, we buy 90% of our windmills from Europe. Why would we want to send them?
Well, Dan, I'll let you respond to that, but I think you said that in a facetious way. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is we buy a lot of windmills from both Europe as well as European companies especially, because this is what's happened. The Europeans started this whole green energy thing because they had the Green Party over there in Europe. And so their government started subsidizing their wind and solar way back. So the companies that are basically behind building windmills and solar panels in the United States are either based in China or based in Europe, principally Spain, Denmark, places like that. Vestas, Abengoa, on and on and on and on. These Siemens Electric, that's a German company. They basically started down this road. Professor Obama saw this and said, gee, this might be good for America. What's happened now is that they've had to reverse tack in Europe. Germany is now burning more coal than they've burned at any time since 1990. That's because the wind and the solar doesn't pan out. It doesn't pan out economically in the rest. What I was referring to is that when people start talking about real energy needs and the kind that can prop up the real needs of people throughout, we're not talking about the president exporting his energy policies that he's been trying to impose on us.
Right.
What they're really talking about is the things that really work, that we actually excel in: oil, coal, gas, and to some degree nuclear.
Dan, in the case in point with this export of natural gas, what would it do on the coastal areas like Oregon, et cetera, for the economy and also jobs? What kind of a boost would it create?
Well, in LNG, the kind of plant we're talking about, and I'm not particularly familiar with, but I'll give you a range. What we're talking about in terms of investment of one of these plants is somewhere between $5 and $10 billion in construction. So essentially like building a world-class refinery in terms of all the jobs that would be created that would take a number of years to do. Then on top of that, you've got the shipping jobs related to it, because you've got basically when you build one of these, you also build you get the tankers built, which require servicing and the like. But it would mean construction of pipelines. It would mean construction of the facility itself. It would mean manning the facility. Huge amount of investment, a huge amount of taxable property, wealth that we don't have here in the United States now that would be invested here in the United States in order to provide that.
Overall, Dan, as we've been talking on this program ever since Obama took over office, and we've seen a steady decline in the availability of energy and a steady increase in pricing. I've asked you this question before, and I'll wrap up the conversation with this question again. Over the next 3 years, your thoughts, are you very negative about what's going to happen to the American consumer, or is there some light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I have to tell you, I mean, I'm always optimistic about America. I think the values that Americans hold deeply should see us through, but they're getting a pretty good beating right now. And the president doesn't seem to be backing off his positions. He says one thing and does another. Talks about reasonable regulation when in reality his people are trying to, the EPA is out of control and the rest of his agencies. So I guess what I'd say is hopefully we can make it to the end, and hopefully in the interim maybe some changes will happen in Washington that will put a little more pressure on some of these decisions. And maybe it's time for Congress to start cutting off the money for these out-of-control government agencies, because that's their power under the Constitution, Zeb. And if they could, think the EPA is shutting down your business or telling you how to farm, maybe they ought not get any money to do it.
Really, you bring up an excellent point that's not discussed very much. It's always easier to cuss and discuss the president, but I lay a lot of the blame, if not most of the blame, on a weak-kneed, milquetoast Congress, whether it's congressmen or senators that just aren't standing up for their constituency. Are you seeing a change in that attitude?
I'm seeing it out in the country. I don't know if I'm seeing it in Washington yet, to be perfectly honest with you, Zeb, because I feel the same way. I see these people rail and issue press releases decrying everything that's happening in Washington, and then I say, so why are you giving them money to continue this sort of stuff? You don't have to do this. I mean, if your kid's out of control, you cut off his allowance, right? That's basically what good parenting is all about. And since Congress controls the purse strings in this country, maybe it's about time they started reining in some of these out-of-control bureaucracies by just cutting their money. I mean, what the heck? The president's got everybody on unemployment for a couple of years. These folks could just get a check from the government like a lot of the other folks are, instead of causing us trouble. At least we wouldn't be paying for them to cause us trouble.
Absolutely. We've got a quick call before we wrap it up. Go ahead, caller. I've only got 4 minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lou Dobbs, I just read his book twice, Upheaval, and it talks about the environment of Washington, D.C., and how people like Mike Simpson from Idaho, who literally lives there and never comes home, and how he one day, if he's not reelected, he will just go to work as an influence peddler, a lobbyist, whatever. And the amount of grants and federal money that goes right back into the city of Washington, D.C., to perpetuate this insanity, people don't understand what kind of an environment of greed and insanity goes on there. And I'll hang up.
You know, he brings up a good point, Dan. You're closer to it than anybody. You probably see this every day, and it makes you sick about the greed that's going on in Washington for their own personal gain.
You know what really makes me sick, Zeb, to be honest with you? I'll just level with you. The government is way too big. It was never intended to be this big. There are a lot of people making a big living off it. You want to cut off the money in Washington? You want to cut all those lobbyists that people hate off? Cut the power in Washington. The only reason they're here is because of the power. Take the power out of Washington by taking it back home, making those decisions locally instead of here in Washington, and all of a sudden these fat cats, they go away. All this big money in politics, nobody'd be willing to give it because it doesn't make any sense. That's why you got to break that cycle. That's why you got to do this. It literally, this stuff feeds on itself. It even feeds itself into the Supreme Court decision making. They don't want to reduce the power of government because they're part of government. You think about it. I mean, it's the home team. They got to make sure the home team gets, the showers are hot when they go to the locker room, and that's really what's going on. So I think your caller is absolutely right, and I agree with him.
Absolutely.
I live here, and I've been part of this system, and I didn't choose to join in on that side, but the more I see of it, the more I believe that this is just so far from what the framers thought, and it's about time the people who we elect in Congress back here in Washington start cutting off the money. Just cut off the money.
Absolutely. This is why I always enjoy having Dan on our program. The Institute for Energy Research's Vice President of Policy, Dan Kish, one of my favorite guests. God bless you, Dan. Thanks, and the best to you until we talk again.
God bless you, Zeb. Great to hear your voice.
Same here, sir. Thank you very much. Institute for Energy Research, Dan Kish, one of my favorite people to have on the program. Before we send it back over to our main studios, I want to remind you about Lennox Home Comfort Systems, available at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Don't forget, Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Yes, you will. Call them, Ramsey Heating and Electric, at 678-0459. At Ramsey's, they provide warm winters and cool summers. By the way, a quick note here again. I want to remind you that coming up on April 12th in Burley at the King Fine Arts Center at 7 p.m., Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a Knight of Patriots, and Today's Heroes. Tickets are available for this great event through www.sergeantchrisworkmanscholarship.com, or for more information and tickets, call 436-4149. Okay? Excellent event coming up on April 12th at the King Fine Arts Center. We are going to take a little break right now and send it back over to our main studios. I want to remind you quickly that tomorrow is Lunch Bunch, and we're going to be all gathered together at Denny's Restaurant on Overland in Burley. And again, our thanks go to Smith's Food King, Walmart, and Hanson Mortuary for our door prizes. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant tomorrow at 11:30 for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Welcome back. And I told Gina this morning, earlier at about 5 minutes to 8 when I called over to the station, she said, well, what are we going to do at 10:30? And I said, we're going to talk about high puppies. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You know what a high puppy is?
Yes, I do.
You do know what a high puppy is?
Well, okay, so I'm assuming that you're going off of a story that was posted in the Washington Post.
Are you talking about the one that discusses the dogs off the grass because they're eating some marijuana goodies?
Yes, that would be the one.
I could not believe this story. There are blasted Dobermans and pickled poodles right now walking around Colorado and Washington that are higher than a kite because they've been eating marijuana-infused cookies, brownies, and butters.
Yes. Apparently, according to the story, they have been.
Holy smokes! They're sitting on the grass and they're going, bow, wow!
Yeah. Well, and according to the story, it's not like they don't eat the plants, but they're eating the cookies and the treats that are laced with marijuana or marijuana substances, THC. And according to the story, it's not like a dog can have just one. They're going to eat the whole tray.
You know, let me ask you a question here, because I'm not criticizing anybody for what they do in the privacy of their own home or what is legal in certain parts of the country. But is this where we're headed, that we have to worry about children going to a park and possibly some little child picking up a brownie that's laced with marijuana, or worse yet, having a pickled poodle that can't even get back in the car because it's all boo, 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 like this because it ate marijuana? Is this the kind of society that we really want?
It's the kind of society that we're breeding, and it's the kind of society that is okay in Washington and Colorado.
You know, they said in the story that I have here from USA Today that the dogs are really, really sitting there. They can't bark. They can't get up. They can't run. If a cat walks by, they just go, hey, it's cool. You know, they're not doing anything. And it's dangerous because I understand it's called marijuana poisoning in animals.
Well, and some animal species, and I don't know this for a fact, I'm not a scientist, but I would assume that they cannot metabolize.
They can't.
Marijuana the way that the human body can.
No, you're 100% right. They can't run it through their system. It stays in a dog system a lot longer than it does human beings. And I just sat there and I read this story, and I thought, is this where we're coming to with the legalization or the easy obtaining of marijuana and sticking it into baked goods, that somebody's going to have a party at the park and you look over at them and there's 8 people, 10 people, whatever, sitting around a blanket, and they get up and they pick up their blanket and everything, and there's the crumbs, and your dog goes over there and laps up the crumbs, and he gets higher than a kite.
Exactly, and that's quite possible. And from what I'm reading on this story, that dogs can't, when they ingest too much, they can't throw that stuff up.
That's right.
It causes them to breathe uneasy, and it can also cause seizures and temporary comas.
Yeah,
and put our pets through that.
And what they say for treatment for the dogs is you've got to take your dog into the vets and put them on an IV to replace all the lost fluids, and some dogs don't come out of it.
Some dogs don't come out of it. Apparently, some dogs, like some humans, just don't have the tolerance for it.
Let's take a call and see what they have to say.
You got it. Good
morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, I don't agree with it leaving it out there for kids and stuff, but I got a neighbor over here. Do you know where I could get some of them? She got some dogs I could...
Now, wait a minute. Be nice. No, it is a serious problem, but I'm going to ask you the same thing I said a minute ago. Have we reached this point in society to where anything goes and we're going to be leaving crumbs and remnants of cookies and brownies around that could be ingested by not only humans but also dogs, and we're just looking at a stone society? Isn't that kind of repulsive?
It is, but the thing that when you was talking about it kind of hit me was think what it does to those dogs. They sit there and watch the cat go by and no attention. I mean, so it's doing the same thing to the humans.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's a great big Doberman ready to chase after every cat in the neighborhood, and he's going to the cat. It's cool, man. It's cool. I ain't going to chase you today. He can't even get up.
Yeah, and so, the same thing happening with humans there, so you wonder why they don't want to go to work, or they don't want to mow their lawn, or why they don't want to do anything in life either.
And your point is so well taken. Now, I'm not trying to sound like goody two-shoes, but I've never ingested or taken any of that material, okay? But our society, is that where we're at right now, that we've got to be so careful about who gets behind the wheel, whether it's from alcohol or whether it's from marijuana, or they've been to a picnic and they're higher than a kite? Is this where we're headed?
Well, I'd hope not, but it's kind of looking that way.
It is.
The way things have been going the last while.
It is. Sir, thank you so much. Watch your dog.
Well, it's the neighbors.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your call. Calls welcome, 436-2244-1866-927-4587. We can laugh about this, but it's not really too funny, because some of these pets generally wouldn't eat the marijuana plants naturally, but with everything that's been left laying around, like the cookies and the brownies and everything else, they ingest that, and all of a sudden they roll over and can't get up.
Exactly. And according to the story that I was reading, which was put up in the Washington Post, according to the Journal of American Veterinary Medical Association, they actually have been using like a cannabis tincture for dogs and cats for conditions ranging from separation anxiety to cancer. But they formulate it in a way that it's such a low dosage that it's not going to hurt the animal. But when you bring in the whole idea of recreational use, and then owners who are not of their right mind, I guess you would say, and leaving this stuff out, that the dogs have access to it just like the children would, and then overindulge in it.
Let me ask you this. Again, I'm kind of a prude when it comes to some of this stuff, Gina, but honestly, we have so many opportunities today to do something negative to society. I mean, let's say there's a mother that's upset about something at the school, and all of a sudden it's her child's birthday, and bakes a bunch of these brownies that go to the school. I mean, I'm not trying to give anybody ideas, but this can happen. We're living in a society where there's just absolutely too much opportunity to revert back to drugs and hurt somebody.
Yeah, there really is. You've got a phone call.
All right, good morning. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. As to your question, is this the trend that our country is going to? I don't think so. I don't think probably having 3 or 4 states out of 50 that have, I guess, loosened laws or legalization or non-criminalization, however you want to put it, for the marijuana. I don't think it's actually a trend.
All right, let me ask you a question there. Can I ask you a question right there, sir? Let's assume that you're on an athletic team and you're going to go to Colorado to play, let's say, the University of Colorado in Boulder. And while you're in the state of Colorado, everything is legal as far as the marijuana, etc., but it's illegal in your home state. You go down there, you buy a little bit of weed, you do a little smoking, you go to the game, you're enhancing your performance possibly by using the drugs. You're also a detriment, possibly, I think, on the roadways, and you go home and you get caught with that. I mean, look at the ramifications that can happen.
Well, I understand your point exactly. It's a good point, but counterpoint to that would be that if we really do believe in states' rights as to each state being independent with a myriad of things, not just 1 or 2 things, that would contradict the point of view of states' rights being superior to federal rights. Mm-hmm. So you can argue that it's a states' rights issue, as other arguable topics also are, i.e. firearms, i.e. abortion. Things that are very emotional and heartfelt points of view in our country. So my view would be that if you're an Idaho resident, you go to Colorado and you do that, then you know what the consequences are. You're going into it with eyes wide open. It's not.
Yeah.
You can't really say, well, Colorado shouldn't do that because somebody from Idaho might go and partake there.
But let me ask.
We know as Idaho residents that it's not legal in our state, nor is it legal with the federal laws. I'd like to refer you to a documentary called Code of the West.
Mm-hmm.
And you can probably look that up under Code of the West. I think that's the title of the documentary, where in the state of Montana, I think in 2011 or 2012, federal law enforcement agencies along with state and local agencies, and I think it mostly took place in Helena, Montana, where they went in and they busted so-called legal grow operations of marijuana in and around Helena. So you should. It's a very good documentary. I would recommend it for anybody who wants to see what can happen when a state who has legalized the medical marijuana use and whatever else, and what can happen when the state people, when the people of the state say, well, that might be fine, but we don't like what's going on, and when there's an environment like that, then the federal authorities are more willing to come along and bust those people.
I appreciate your call. You brought up some excellent points this morning, sir. Thank you very much for your diligence on this. Appreciate it. Gina, let me ask you this, though, in accordance with what that gentleman just said. And I really listened to what he had to say about this. But we have got a problem in this country with a myriad of laws, kind of a kaleidoscope of laws referring to one single subject, whether it's marijuana, whatever it might be, and there's no uniformity. And my point is that we've got a come here, come hither, come wherever type law system to where, how are you going to define what's legal and illegal before too long, where they're mixing the laws with something that was illegal years ago? Do you understand where I'm headed on this?
I do understand where you're headed with that, and I don't really have an answer. I don't know where we're going to be headed because, honestly, the ways our rules and regulations have been changing so quickly, at least in the past 5 years, it's really kind of hard to look that far ahead.
Well, let me ask you this part of it then. It's illegal to drink and drive. Okay? Yeah. That's a done deal.
Yep.
And anybody that drinks and drives is a menace to society, and they should be arrested, and they should have their license taken away. And you know what? All of us as adults that have imbibed at one time or another in our lives, we've probably taken the chance and got behind the wheel and went home, and we shouldn't have. Yep. Okay, but I'm an absolute adherent that we should be tougher on drunk drivers. How do you get tough on people with marijuana that is a legal product in downtown Denver? How are you going to legislate that?
I guess you would legislate it the same way you do for driving under the influence of alcohol.
But is it?
They'd have to do the research on that.
There you go. There you go.
I don't know.
I've got a weather forecast I've got to do, and then I'm going to ask that caller to stay with us just a minute. I promise I will not forget you. I'll be right there. Don't forget the weather this hour brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness sakes, they sell taste one bite at a time. Scarrows Meats, locally owned custom meat processor serving Southern Idaho for over 20 years, and they offer quality products at very reasonable rates. Get a hold of them today, Scarrows Meats in Jerome, 324-7657. Here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hey, everybody, it's Michael Rogers of MichaelRogersWeather.com. Clouds, sun, and a mix of showers later on today, but we're working our way to being on that backside of the cold front. Temperatures looking for a high today of about 53. Overnight low right around 40. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Thank you, Michael. Scarrows Meats in Jerome, absolutely excellent, and they are selling taste one bite at a time. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Seb, I just tuned in on this marijuana legalization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going on my mid-50s, growing up in the 70s, going to high school. I'll try this marijuana, And, boy, there's a big problem with it. I did my time with it as far as I had about a 7-year period where I smoked marijuana probably daily.
Mm-hmm.
It never affected my job. I always worked. Unfortunately, I drove sometimes, but it never, in my opinion, impaired my driving. Now, I've been drunk before. No way could I drive. Not even maybe. Well, anyways, time went on. I grew out of both, a little older, family responsibilities. But I never got in trouble. Not that I couldn't have, but there was a line to cross. I took a chance by using marijuana of getting arrested. Could have ruined my livelihood. I wouldn't even dare touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I have some real health issues now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would help me or not.
Let me ask you a question.
I'm gonna try it without,
Yeah, let me ask you a question right there. You said something that I wanted to ask you, and I've got another caller waiting. Do you believe, as I have been told, and I personally believe, that marijuana usage could be and possibly will be a gateway drug to much tougher usage on other drugs? Do you believe that?
Sometimes, yes. But what about people that try alcohol and never try marijuana?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a brother-in-law that died from alcoholism. I've got a sister-in-law that's been in prison several times because of drinking. The list just goes on.
Well, let me ask you, though, the question I was posing earlier this half hour, and I'd really respect your opinion on this, is have we become such a relaxed society right now where we joke and make fun of stories to where people in a park leave crumbs on the ground and little children could eat those crumbs and ingest marijuana? Dogs are almost dying because of marijuana poisoning. Have we become so relaxed on this that we don't care anymore?
You could have a point there. But, the one thing that I don't like is you go to Colorado, I hear you can go to a motel room and get a prescription and go buy marijuana.
Yeah.
That's not right. You better have a good medical doctor and a history that these other drugs do not work.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate your call, and God's blessings to you. I wish you the best. Thank you very much for calling in this morning. Thank you. Thank you. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb. First thing I want to say is, in my opinion, marijuana has no place in our society, period.
Okay.
Personally, I blame it for the death of one of my nephews, because of how it messed up his mind.
Well, okay, and I really feel sympathy for you and your family and the passing of a loved one, but to go back to what you said when you started the conversation, it has no place in our society. Well, it's already in society. It's already in place. It's already being accepted. It's already being used. It's already legal in some states. It's already a major problem, more so than it was. So what do we do?
Well, we try to educate our kids and do our best to stop it here in this state, even though I know it's probably a losing battle.
All right, well, I do.
Another thing I wanted to bring up on the drinking and driving thing.
Yeah.
I want everyone out there to remember, if you see someone driving drunk and you know they're drunk, don't be afraid to report them to the police. We have to get them off the road.
All right. I appreciate your call. It was well stated. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. God bless.
Yeah, catch you later, Zeb.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm an old fogey, kind of old-fashioned, and Gina's the younger generation from me. Maybe I'm looking at this thing all wrong, but I just don't believe in relaxing things in society. I believe there has to be limits, there has to be curtailments, there has to be laws, there has to be certain guidelines, and by this kind of a problem, and we made jest out of it in the beginning about the dogs ingesting the marijuana, but it's not funny at all. Really, because it's an open ticket for disaster with all the foods that are laced with marijuana, the get high mentality. I don't know. I'm just having a real hard time accepting this. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We'll wait for your phone calls. Still got time. Give me a jingle. And we'll tell everybody about a big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, boy. All the tires are on sale. You better believe it. They got the America's Tire on sale. Modern all-season design ready for you. They've got the Proxys 4 on sale. They've got the Ultra Z900 on sale. They've got the best in brake service, professionally trained technicians. They've got their batteries on sale, shocks and struts, the best in front-end alignments. Oh, my goodness, what are you waiting for? Service reigns supreme at all 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hey, where have you been hiding?
Working. All
right, well, tell me your opinion. Do you think I'm just an old fogey that doesn't know what he's talking about?
No, I think you're spot on a lot of this. My thing is you've heard about the thing going on down in Utah about the cannabis oil.
Yep.
Okay. I've got a nephew, and my brother and sister have been strong advocates of this. My nephew is now 12 years old. He has a really bad case of seizures. He'll have over 100 seizures a day. Okay. It has been proven that the cannabis oil does cut that down to where kids have been able to have a pretty much a normal life, because it does something to the brain. It relaxes it to a point to where they can do something and not have to worry about the seizures. One kid that they actually named it after, this little girl, died a week after that law got passed.
Kilt man, how is that administered? How is the cannabis administered?
I think it is orally. I think it's like just a little bit on a spoon or something like that, and put in there to where it gets to the tongue, and then entered in. I believe. I don't know for sure, but it actually proved from one person that one little child that had over 300 seizures a day, and that person, couldn't walk, couldn't feed themselves, nothing like that. Well, this child is now walking, is now being able to feed themselves and stuff like that because of the cannabis oil.
I don't want to ever intimate on this program that I'm against any medical research using any drug to help human beings be better and healthier. But my point, and I think you'll agree with, and I've got one other call waiting, my point is that I think we've become such a relaxed society that you see stories and read stories about dogs ingesting cookies and brownies laced with marijuana. Well, the same could happen to a little child walking around in the park, etc. I'm just concerned about the relaxation.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about too, because you know as well as I do, people will take advantage of the situation. Not every doctor is steadfast and honest. As long as they can get their money, they'll prescribe anything.
Yeah.
And that and a lot of parents, you'll have a bunch of small children in there, and you've got a half a dozen adults in there smoking marijuana. Well, guess what? The kids are going to get it.
Absolutely. Kilt man,
the thing is that they can regulate it. If they can put it where it does good, I don't have a problem with it.
Right.
At all. But if it's going to be a problem and stuff like that, they need to regulate it. They need to make it against the law. They need to, people like that just sit there and have a nice little party and smoke and stuff like that with a bunch of little kids around, they ought to have the kids taken away.
Kilt man, I appreciate your call. I got one more I got to get on here, but I want to tell you something. Don't make yourself a stranger. It's good to hear from you. Thank you.
See you.
All right, buddy. Thanks much. Caller, I've got 1 minute exactly. Go fast.
Jeb, you are spot on with your assessment about marijuana. The point I wanted to make was not so much the fact of marijuana, legal, illegal, the environment surrounding it. I tried marijuana in my period, and it made me sick. The people around me, as a result of peer pressure and everything else, kind of put me on the back burner because I didn't smoke it. So then I drank, and then I drank to a period that I became a practicing alcoholic. Now I'm sober 27 years, and I'm looking at the whole thing and going like, I don't have a problem with you smoking marijuana if you're adult about it. Why would you want to go ahead and do it around children and create a whole new set of problems?
Absolutely.
So how you feel about what you feel, you're spot on.
Michael, God bless you, and I hope you don't mind if I use your name because you've been very open and eloquent about this many times on the program. God bless you, man. Talk to you tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
One of my dear friends right there. Appreciate his being honest and very open about the use. Hey, I've got to run. I'm late. I appreciate everybody's call. I appreciate your opinions. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 right here, Zeb at the Ranch. God bless you. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Thanks, Gina. Great job. See you tomorrow. Lunch bunch at 11:30 tomorrow. See you then.